Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mystery Truck, and welcome to the Minton. So, I just want to inform all of you that we're going to be starting our next Broadway musical here, which is going to be Sweeney Todd. This is actually one of the darker things that we're going to be performing, but the music is absolutely phenomenal. So I wanted to get into why you're all here today, and that is to learn Spanish. Alright, now who can tell me that Espanol is the most important and most common language that you could ever learn, second to ours? Because, everyone should know enough English to get by, even a little bit. No one on this earth should know none. Maybe if they're children, that would be understandable. That would be perfectly fine. But if you're an adult, you may not speak that much English, but you still need to know the basics. And here's another thing. Spanish is second to that. You can live your life starting as a child and growing up and not know any Spanish, but at some point in your life, you need to get around to it. Maybe others have to push you to do it, or maybe you take the initiative and decide for yourself. But again, it's really crucial. Okay, so let's begin with the basics. Let's actually talk about the word Spanish, from English to Spanish. Okay, so Spanish in Spanish is Español. The O-L may mean the H-S sound. Or vice versa, I don't know. Okay, so let's take a look at this word, Español. Now, I want you to pay attention to the accent mark over the N. Whenever there's an accent mark over the N, you realize that I was pronouncing this word Español and not Español. When there's an accent mark over the N, there's an N and a Y sound, both together combined in one letter. So that's how it gets its pronunciation. Okay, that's cleared out. Now we're going to move on to our second word, and this is how you would address me. Okay, so I have three versions of the same word here, which is señor. Señor. So you realize this is the senor. This is the señor, señor. Accent mark over the N, so there's an N and a Y sound. And here is the abbreviation. S-N-R, and my last name is Curdy. So Senor is Mr., and Senora is Mrs. So, La Maestra, nouns in Spanish, either, depending on the gender, either masculine or feminine, either have the la or the L next to it. So, Maestra is feminine, and I will give it away. The A is feminine, O is masculine, apart from the L. That's referring to a he. So El Chico, the boy. Boy is a male. El Hombre, that's a man, also male. So, La Maestra. So a maestra is a teacher, or just a maestra. You hear those popular phrases, the maestro of music, or something along those lines. That's originally Spanish. It probably is Italian as well. So, La Maestra de Senor Curdy. That's my last name. And I'll write it here for you as well. Okay. So now that that's cleared, we're going to get into some really basic things here. So, how do you say hello in Spanish? That should be obvious. Hola. And how do you say goodbye? There's two ways of doing it. There's adios, and how you say hello in Italian and goodbye in Italian. Yes, ciao. Alright. And ciao is the shortened version of adios, which is goodbye. It's not buenos adios. Bueno means good, mal means bad, malo, malo, depending on the gender. So, with that said, now we're going to get into function words with gender used in any sentence in any situation. So, they are yo. To, accent mark over the U as to. El, ella, not Ella, that's a female name, and usted. Okay, and then over here we have nosotros. Nosotras, we'll talk about that. Vosotros. And then ellos. And ustedes, which would be linked here. Referring to they. So these two are linked. Vosotros and ellos. And ellas, depending on the gender again. But we'll talk about these. So I really want you to memorize this chart really well, because you're going to need to use this on several tests. You realize how these are linked. So we're going to talk about these. So yo means I. Now, we tend to... Now, I want to make sure that my memory is good. Okay. So we tend to associate this yo when we're singing, such as like in Hamilton when they say, hey yo, I'm not throwing away my shot. We intend to say, hey you. This is apparently the cool modern American way of saying you. But its origin is in Spanish, more formal it is, more realistic it is, and we stole it out. So don't listen to us. Yo is I, although it doesn't sound like it, and tu is you. In the informal. There's a formal you and an informal. So tu is the informal, and usted down here, that's the formal. So let's talk about this. Now, you would address tu if you're talking to your family members, your friends, or any of your peers. But you would say usted when you're addressing any type of authority figure. Your teachers, I'm your teacher, principal, policeman, all those kinds of things. So any authority figure needs to be addressed with formality. And that's what's matter, is usted. Now, down here, we have L and ella. So, this L right here can be used depending on the gender. If it's masculine gender for nouns, it would be in front of the noun. But so L is he, ella is she. Whenever there's an A in any word at the end of a word, that means that it's feminine. But if there's an O at the end of a word, that would mean masculine. Okay, I covered that earlier. If we take a look over here, let's look at this nosotros and nosotras. So, we. Nosotros is we. So let's talk about this. So, there is two forms of we in Spanish. So, nosotros is we, males and mixed genders, so males and females combined. But nosotras is we, females only. Now, you may be wondering, why isn't there all mixed? Why isn't there three? One mixed, one male, one female. Well, that's just the way it is. Okay, I don't have any other answers for you. So, nosotras and nosotros we have here. We're going to go down to vosotros and vosotras. Now, the interesting thing about this is that it's only used in Spain, okay? In any other Spanish-speaking country, say Mexico or Argentina or Chile, Santiago, Chile, you would use another term, and we're going to get to that, okay, with going down the list. But vosotros or vosotras, depending on our groups and gender of the groups, would be only used in Spain. So that's just an extra term that you need to know. So then we have they, which is ellos or ellas, and then ustedes, which follows this. We'll get to that. So, ellos is they, males and mixed group, and ellas is they, females only, a group of just females. Okay, and then ustedes, that's the term that is used in every country except for Spain, addressing you guys. So vosotros and ustedes is you guys. So then I would be addressing you all. So you, it's you, but it's they. Combine those together and you have vosotros or vosotras or ustedes. So to you and then you guys. So you can, we're going to separate these two. So this list down here, so yo, tu, and ella, el, and usted is singular. And then over here is the plural. Plural form. So it makes sense. I, and then we. you, and then you guys. He, she, and then they. Doesn't that make sense? And it even makes sense for ella, ellos, ellas. See the similarity between those terms? So that is your basic chart over here. Now, the next thing that I want to teach you all is how to say the date. So today is, and we're going to get to how interesting that is. So, the days of the week in Spanish begin on a Monday and end on a Sunday, making the weekend make sense. Because we start on Sunday and end on Saturday, and I don't get that. But anyway, how you write a date in Spanish with either numbers or taking two numbers, that's your day, and then the year with the month. It doesn't matter. What does matter is the order that they go in, because the day goes before the month. And I'm actually going to change how we write and say our dates here, because, in Spain they make a lot more sense. But I think maybe they do it in all of Europe this way. But, so we start with the day. So, if we're writing it out in numbers, so today would be March 1st. The month, what number of month of the year, so March is the third month of the year, so 3, and then our year. Don't pay attention to the century at the front, but pay attention to what year it is, what is to the right of that, but that was a number in this case. So that would be 20. So 1, 3, 20 instead of 3, 1, 20. Doesn't make a lot more sense because it's starting small with the day, getting into the month, and then getting into the year. Instead of starting medium, getting very small, and then the big thing. So, there's two terms that you need to know, and they are hoy and mañana. Pay attention here because there's an accent mark over the N, and we already know what that means. It's not manana, but mañana. Hear the difference in sound and mouth feel with those two? Okay. So, alright. So, hoy and mañana. Hoy is today. Mañana is tomorrow. Okay. So, I'm going to start off with today. So, hoy es. Es is is. So, hoy es, today is. And then mañana is tomorrow is, or tomorrow will be. Now today's an interesting one because the reason why it's so interesting is because the first day of every month, the first day of the month, is unlike any other day of that month of the year. So, we're going to get into talking about tomorrow. So tomorrow is March 2nd. So our sentence would begin with March. So mañana is, and so we're going to put our numbers in Spanish. And then we're going to get into our months. So we'll come back to this. But I want to flip the board over because I don't want to erase that just yet. Because we're going to get into numbers 1 through 31. And you should all have heard these numbers before. Some will. At least some of them. They should be kind of familiar. But we're going to learn them. And then we're going to learn the months to put this date together. Alright. So, with writing the month. And then the numbers. So, let's start with numbers. So, uno. That's 1. Dos. 2. Tres. 3. Cuatro. 4. Cinco. 5. Seis. Spelled S-E-I-S is 6. Siete. I before the E is 7. Ocho. 8. Nueve. 9. And then diez. Not Cameron's last name, but that's 10. Okay? So then, once, not once, like once upon a time, is 11. Doce, don't confuse it with dose, there's an E at the end, and the C is the S. So doce is 12, that makes a lot of sense, it's pretty obvious. See, uno, once, see the similarity, and dos, and then doce. And then 13 is trece. Same in spelling with the C and the E is 13. Catorce is 14. See, cuatro and catorce, but I think that when we get to 4, it'll be more obvious for 4, but in Spanish. So, quince, not quince, like something similar to a quince really, but that's 15, so 15 is quince, and then we have our, for numbers 16 through 19, we have our DA prefix. So down here, we have DA, and then be careful with your spelling here because it's CI, so this is the formula, so DAC, so actually DAC here, and then we put our number that we're talking about, so our root number from over here, so 16 would be DAC6. So DA is in the teens, and 6 is, 6 at the end of 16, because that's the number that we're talking about. And so then DACFD we have with 17, that one's a little bit tricky. And so actually, that one's interesting. Because, okay, so this one's interesting because instead of having this formula with the DA formula, we would be getting rid of the S because it, DSCCFT is a long one, so we want to shorten it. So we're going to take, so pretend that the C is our S, so DACFT, we're going to follow along with the rest of 7, so IETE, okay, if that's right, so then DACOCHO, then Día Nueve would be, again, this is a long one, so we're not going to put the C for that one, but just Nueve, and then Viente, and the E goes before the I. Okay, so that's numbers 1 through 20. I think that will be good for now. Okay, so is this understood here? Excellent. So now we're going to get into the months now of the year. So, I'm going to write them out down here, okay? So I want you to pay attention. So, January, 2 months ago, would be enero. It's not enero, but it's pronounced enero. And we'll practice the will and the R's later. But January is enero. Now, because this word enero is not going to be as obvious from its English to Spanish translations and vice versa, or vice versa from all the other months of the year. And plus, it will be better if we start out easy and start out prideful, I want to say, and start out fresh, because it's the first month of the year. I find that really disrespectful and unfair. So, January, instead of being enero, there's going to be 2 ways of saying this, which is going to be Januero, or Januario. Okay, now we have February. Through its spelling in English, that would be Febrero. March, the month that we're just starting with today, would be March. So, and also, I want to talk about this because, actually, let's do it with my hands, it makes it easier. So, months in Spanish are not capitalized. They are lowercase. You can capitalize them, but think of it this way. It makes it easier, especially when you're typing. You don't have to hit the shift key. So, then we have April, Abril. So, as you can tell, these are pretty obvious. February, Febrero, these should be the easiest thing. Because a lot of words in Spanish, not all of them, but a lot, you can tell, and you can guess from the English translation. So, if you just look at March, so for example, and you didn't know, like, that was a month, you just looked at it flat, and then you would try to figure out based off of everything else, and just based off of just the word, that you'd pretty easily be able to distinguish and interpret that as March. Because it's pretty obvious. February is Febrero, March is Marzo, April is Abril, the month that I was born in. We'll get into birthdays tomorrow. But so, May is Mayo. It's not mayo like mayonnaise, like Cinco de Mayo. Well, I'm going to get into that another time. We'll get into that holiday when the time comes. So, May is Mayo, June. Now, there's some pronunciations. I know it'll look like Junio. Because, again, pretty obvious, but it's pronounced Junio. It's pronounced Junio. Whenever there's a J in at the beginning of a word, it has an H sound, and whenever there's a QU at the beginning of the word, it has a K sound. So you realize, well, you're not saying quesadillas, queso. Yeah, I think that you get it. So, that's just a little tidbit there. So, I'm going to erase that and make it a little shorter because I realize that I'm running out of room here. So, June is junio, and that's not capitalized. July is julio. August, Agosto, Agosto. September, Septiembre, I before the E, after the T. October, Octubre, U after the T. Okay, and then we have November, I'm going to write it up here. November, Noviembre, and then December, be careful with the spelling. Diciembre. I before the E again. Okay, so I'm going to leave these up here for you to see. So, actually we'll get into the date tomorrow, mañana. Adios. We'll get into more greetings and all of the basics that I have planned for this first unit. But thank you all very, very much. I hope that you learned a lot today. I know that was somewhat of quite a bit of information. So I hope that, thank you for bearing with me through that. So, excellent.